welcome to Whoop with Jen. I have my friend Trisha back for another pod, and I just love doing these episodes where I get to talk to people that I think I already know. But I find out more about them, and everything I learn just makes me feel comfortable and that my journey is part of a bigger journey. And we find that our conversations about these hard to talk about topics are cathartic and sort of a form of release. And I can't wait to meet any of you who are listening, however many there may be. And I hope that you will be brave enough to just be open and vulnerable on your own to share your story, because it certainly is necessary. So welcome back, Trisha.
Hi.
So I wanted to kind of springboard off of something that we ended our last session together with was, you had to hide your arms at work from bruising and things from your daughter who was physically aggressive, and you were dealing with some behaviors, and you realized that diet had a huge,
Yes.
I mean, obviously it's not the only thing.
Yes, I think it was a culminate. It was just a bunch of things, and I think everything came to a head. I think Kylie has always had the behaviors. It's funny because when we moved here, Troy went on this journey, and all those old videotapes you have from saving from years, we found a video of her when she was really young in the bathroom, just like jumping and moaning, and you could tell she was just trying to control herself with rubbing her blanket and everything.
Self-regulating?
Yeah. So her stomach, even the year my mom passed away, another year I had to think about leaving my job, was that she was 10, not potty trained. She would stand in the corner and shake, trying to hold it in. And she had lesions on her bottom in raw, and I couldn't even close them. I couldn't get them closed.
From wearing
pull-ups, but pooping and peeing in them, and just everything just keeps staying. It was, but she couldn't. She didn't want to eliminate. It was just like, it was fear. It was pain. So when people talk about gut regulation, and your gut is really your first brain to your brain, I have always believed that autism is a gut neuro disorder, because I always feel like Kylie has had those stomach problems. I had her tested for her foods, and we dabbled. I hear it really is hard, because they're picky anyway what they like to eat.
Oh, I know.
So
my daughter lives on pizza, popcorn, quesadillas, nachos.
Right. And those are all, and if
They're
dairy is,
horrible.
and dairy is an issue,
dairy,
I know, exactly.
It's tough.
They're
so resistant to certain foods.
Right. So
I just want to interject. I have a friend who has to bring meals when they go out to eat, because her son is so picky, and if he has anything wrong with his food, he'll melt down, and horribly embarrassing and stressful for them. Can't they just go out and have a meal?
It's very stressful. Well, we found out from my other daughter, Tori, Kylie's sister, same thing. I was at a restaurant with her, and we were just having salads, and she ordered the dressing on the side. And she's picky, but she's really healthy. She's in a much better place. She's really healthy. And I said, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Something doesn't seem right. I ordered the dressing on the side, but something's wrong." And within minutes, my daughter's whole neck and face started to get this rash. So she completely was allergic to something that they had been cooking in the meal itself, which was just a salad and veggies. But she had to call them and say, "I don't know what you put in this, but I ordered the dressing on the," and they ended up comping her. But I've learned a lot.
Did you ever figure out what it was?
She thinks it was probably the oil or something they cooked or that it was cooked on a grill that had other things.
Probably.
And it just
Contamination
triggered.
happens all over the place.
It's a trigger. So anyway, she had to be really careful. So I've learned all these things over the years, and
by trial and error.
Yes. But what I wish I had done was done these oat tests and these tests that are a lot more available for just a blood draw or something like that, which is still tricky, but Kylie will let you, it's holding her down, but she'll do a blood draw. It's a lot easier than having her teeth cleaned or anybody look in her mouth because she has to be knocked out, which means anesthesia is involved, and then it's a whole nother gamut. So over the last 15 years, either it's related to Kylie's period or when she's not feeling good or something's going on, she starts pulling her hair out. And I have had to shave her head for the last 15 years at some point, at least 2 to 3 times a year. And so she ends up looking like she's had chemo, and then she has to wear hats. And then we play this whole game because she digs and she has these sores on her and everywhere. And in the last 2 years of all these meltdowns, all these behaviors being related to medication that's not right, all these things, and it's been trial and error. But she would break out in these pockets of infection. So we have a feeling all these infections and all these things that have developed over the years have been sitting in her body. And then when she has an explosion of it, what I can tell you is I haven't shaved her head since last April. So she has a head of hair.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
And it's because of medicine or dietary changes?
Well, we went in and had her teeth cleaned.
Was she put under?
They put her under. When she came out, they said her mouth is severely decayed. We have to pull a tooth. So she had infection in her mouth, which means all that bacteria from her mouth on top of the infection going directly to her brain and into her gut, causing all kinds of problems she already has. We've already changed her diet because we still can't. We had to get her a tooth extracted, 13 crowns, and I had them take out all the metal fillings because I wanted they said metal is, get that out of her body.
Aluminum is very toxic.
Just get it out of her body.
Wax paper, people. Parchment paper, no aluminum.
Yeah. Anyway, so that just happened, and that took 4 months. And in doing that, we also put her on antifungal medicine because Kylie has been on antibiotics for so many infections that she gets for years and years and years. So her gut has no good bacteria so we keep having this cycle that has just gone on and on. Yes, we've changed her diet. We're reducing the amount of medication. Now we've gotten the toxins out of her mouth and all that bacteria. So now the whole gut cleaning. And so she's so much more stable. If she has a meltdown or she has an aggression, I can break it down and make it last less than 15 minutes.
Actually, 15 minutes is a really long time.
But in my world, she used to go on to 2 to 3 hours at a time. And I am telling you, to watch somebody melt down, I'm talking dilated eyes, sweating, pulling her hair out, crawling out of her skin for 3 to 4 hours. And if I did that, even if I cried for 3 or 4 hours, I'd be so exhausted I would pass out. She doesn't pass out, and then she still doesn't go to bed that night. And this can go on. And this is like just that hamster on that trail, on that little wheel, just running and running and running. And she will just keep going, and she will just obsess, and it will go on and on and on. So we're trying to break all those cycles. So you're trying to break over-toxification of medication, all the gut bio stuff that has just been, if you have bacteria, yeast, candida, her urine showed just the overgrowth on overgrowth. So that we're getting that. So when you're bombarded by so many health issues on top of human intervention issues of, we're going to try to combat this with we'll give you another medication you're dealing with, instead of getting to the underlying causes of behavior, we just medicate the behavior. And if we don't, that's
just a Band-Aid.
It is. And it's the easy fix. And that's what that's why health insurance is a scam at this point. Because if we dealt with underlying issues, even when we're taking her into a psychiatrist just for medication, they're not observing her. They're not having a talk with her. They know nothing about her. And you're spending money for a 50-minute visit. I'm watching kids at every level coming into these psychiatrists' office, probably for behaviors, attention deficit, But has anybody asked them, number one, what are your stresses? How do you eat? How do you sleep? And what's going on in your life? Those are 3 questions nobody's asking, which are the underlying of anybody who has behaviors. Even myself, when I'm not feeling good, I'm in pain. Where am I in my life that's causing this? Whether it be menopause, premenopausal, did you just have a baby, postpartum? People are not looking at what's really going on, and you can't fix it with a pill.
Because they can't be reimbursed by insurance for
Exactly.
something that isn't on their CPT codes.
But I mean,
right?
Kylie, I mean, some of the medications she's on, if they, it would show the price if it wasn't, covered. I mean, $1,800. Do you know what I could get for $1,800 with supplements and going to a health food store versus getting a pill that really is not really ultimately good for? I'm not saying people who have psychiatric disorders, and I mean,
They
schizophrenia,
need a balance for hormones, for sure.
balance for hormones. I need that, but we're not looking at people as a whole.
My balance is called wine.
Yes, I like that balance too. But again, even that. I mean, my homeopathic doctor told me not to do any drinking for at least 6 months because of the sugar.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's been 6 months. Last glass of wine I had was like October 8th.
Oh, I'm opening a bottle right now.
Yes. So I'm almost to that point of my 6 months. But again, Kylie, all the food she ate has sugar in it.
Oh,
all the food she had yeast in it. All these,
and that's a problem for us in America.
Yes, that's what I mean.
It's in totality, because there's so many processed foods, garbage foods, and the marketing of them drives me crazy.
I'm watching kids,
So I appreciate the green movement. I believe in organic foods. I believe that we need to go back like farm to table.
Yep.
I believe our government subsidizes all these farmers who produce way too much soy, which actually isn't good for you.
Right.
And they use all these chemicals. And the thing that really I want to launch, this was like a pod that I wanted to do on my own, but I'm just going to interject it here right now.
No, it's a perfect segue.
The thing is, I think we should take all of our healthy foods and take the green label off. Because my daughter doesn't like the color green, and she thinks anything that is green, like broccoli, is yucky. But you know what she likes? Red and yellow, because that's the color of McDonald's and that's the color of Coke. So I think we should take all of the foods that are healthy and pure and repackage them and rebrand them to look like McDonald's food. Because my daughter responds to colors. Right. And if I bring her something home, like Zevia, which is a healthy soda, like quote unquote healthy soda.
We do that too.
It looks too healthy for her. And I'm like, what if that came in a red and white bottle that looked like Coke? Yeah. She'd be more apt to have it. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, you're not, because so Kylie used to only drink 7-Up. And this was years and years ago, because she's very picky. And I think the bubbles in the 7-Up must have made her stomach feel better, because when you're sick,
carbonation actually is not a bad thing.
No.
I mean,
so we went from,
that's why I have a soda stream.
So we went to Diet 7-Up, then we went to Hanson's, and we still realized that had too much stuff. So we've graduated to the Stevia, the one you're talking about. We are now to the Waterloo flavored water and the LaCroix. We have 2 different kinds. So she now
drinks they sell at Costco.
They do. Kylie has like certain flavors. So
they have grapefruit, which is random.
No, Kylie's not going to drink that.
Who asked for that? Like, who did a taste test study and said, let's do grapefruit?
That took us 3 years to get to this point. But she will drink it now, and now we are off sodas completely. It's taken us that long. But she had a caregiver when Kylie she says, get her off. So we're talking aspartame.
Oh, yeah. Well, we should be all off of it.
Exactly. So we are. And again, and we have Stevia drops and everything if we need to make something sweet. We're trying all these different things. But like, we don't take Kylie's favorite meal at McDonald's is the fish sandwich and fries. She hasn't been there in 2 years.
Does she ask for it? Does
Not
she
anymore.
recognize
She used to. Troy said he used to drive her around, and she signs the M. The M is a sign for McDonald's, like the arches, and she used to do that all the time.
And my daughter is obsessed with McDonald's.
Yes.
Like,
Kylie
when we're doing a road trip, she's like, McDonald's, me, yummy. And
So
I'm
even
like,
if
oh,
we have to
it's
go
gross.
through, we've done in and out, but I'll only get her the fries and I'll ask for no salt. I mean,
Yeah.
but again, and we do the same thing. If we're going to get something, is it organic? What is it, sugar or is stevia in it? We're always looking at, I try to keep the sugar, especially because of the yeast and the candida, because that overgrowth is huge behaviors
Well,
because of the itching
yeah.
and the crawling skin.
Well,
And
when your body is working to fight the toxins that are
yes,
in it, then
yes,
your body can only handle so much fight or flight. And then how can your brain properly take care of your emotions
right,
or your reactions? And I think it's like I have a friend who got diagnosed with breast cancer at age 50, and she went to a naturopath for her cancer treatment, and he has brought women back from almost death, like into complete remission. And he put her on a vegan, organic diet. And he said, if your body is not fighting the food, your body will fight the cancer.
right.
And she was cured of cancer through diet and ended up, I think, only
That's
having to
amazing.
have radiation and not having to go through chemotherapy.
And did she have her remote?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Wow.
So I think that, I'm sure there are other pods out there that talk about diet and behaviors, but it's just...
So here's another, like my brother is a architect landscaper and he runs a business up in Northern California. Exposed to tons of, he's had staph infections, fertilizers. He's all organic. Probably 4 years ago, his body shut down. So he's even gone and done the fecal treatment where you replace your own gut with somebody else's healthy gut stuff, which is not in the United States. You can't even get into the one in London.
Where did he go?
He went to the Bahamas. They have a facility in the
Bahamas. That's kind of a nice dual-purpose trip.
Yeah, it is. But again, you're doing...
Wait, so tell me a little bit about... They replace your fecal
so
matter?
It's capsulized, but you replace good gut floral with yours because you can't fight off your own antibiotics. My brother was losing so much weight and he couldn't get any food to even stay in him. But he really believes it was from because he's been out in the field and you get cut and you get infections. You're
breathing it in.
And you're talking even when we were little and he grew gardens all the time. My brother's a total outside Sierra health. I mean, he just loves the outdoors. But there's a lot of chemical, a lot of exposure to everything. And he worked in the field, and you're in the soil of other people's yards and whatever he's been exposed to. So he's completely, he only uses, even for he just has gone completely organic. He doesn't put any kind of pesticides that endanger the earth or whatever yard he's working on, and he encourages people to only put this on their
composting.
Yeah, all the stuff he does.
No pre-emergent, no Roundup. Oh, which is
now. It's pretty
hopefully it's
nasty.
going to be banned soon.
Yeah. And again, there's a lot of that even in Arizona because people are spraying the rocks. I can tell when it's outside in the air.
Everything's yellow right now in Arizona because they're spraying that stuff.
It's really horrific. And I watch guys on the side of the road and it's like, you have no mask on? You have no hoodie on? I mean, I'd be completely covered in...
Right.
Anyway, so the exposure we all have. So in me getting Kylie better, and I feel like me moving here I was a complete burnout, trying to keep a job, having people call me and tell me I'm quitting, I'm not going to work with her anymore, come get her, blah, blah, blah. I just couldn't keep the wheels on the bus anymore. And I was really exhausted, and I really wanted to make Kylie better because in order for her to get into a home or for us to get her into a day program, we had to make her doable. If it's like you got to get healthy first. We got to see what we can do on our own before we bring her out into the world or get her. Hey, we're going to create a home and have a couple other families join us and creating a supported living home, an independent living home for somebody. But you got to have kids that are going to be willing to deal. Yes, we all have behaviors, but they, healthy, making, what kind of, got to get healthy first. And in this journey, I found out that I went and had my blood tested. I have Epstein-Barr. I still have the pneumonia virus in my body active. I score very high. I have no hormones. I have no adrenal. And I'm my body's in fight or flight. And you just talked about, if you're fighting off these things in your body that you need to fight off, you have no reserve, because so we all have to, it's that oxygen mask.
Right.
If you're not healthy and you don't feel good, figure out why, and it's not a pill that's going to do it.
And I think what's so hard is we're adults with minds and an ability to have a thought. But Kylie isn't verbal.
No.
And I just imagine how hard it is for her
Yes.
to be inside her body without the ability to express herself
Yes.
verbally. And I think you're an amazing mom.
Oh, thank you. I'm feel like you're an
You're
amazing
lucky.
mom.
I mean, she's lucky
Well, Elle is
to have you.
I completely agree. The same for you too. I've listened to you on the phone too. we had coffee one day, and she had to get on the phone about the communicative device. And,
Oh, yeah.
and she kept apologizing, and I'm like, you don't need to apologize.
Yeah,
I'm
when the
right
school
there
calls,
with you.
oh my gosh, when the school calls, you're like, oh shit, do
I
I even
know.
want to take this
I
call? Like,
know.
please don't tell me I have to pick up my kid, and please don't call and tell me you're complaining. And I have a whole pod that's going to probably be, I have no idea how many episodes it's going to be, but my failure and my success within the school district.
I'm right there with you.
Oh, wow.
And that was another
education.
thing.
Oh, yeah. And Betsy DeVos wants to cut all the funding for special education, too. And this is March of 2019, by the way. So our battles aren't just in the home. They are in the government. They're in the public school education system.
Yes.
They're in society.
So even
forever, everywhere.
So in that thought of us getting here and realizing Kylie was just toxic from figuring out that it was her teeth and she had
So she's
ovary
fighting
issues.
off all this stuff.
So she's fighting
And
all these things.
One of these
internally
things you've mentioned in and of itself
is
debilitating.
Yes, exactly.
But she's got
multiple,
half a dozen to a dozen things that
going
she's,
on.
This poor girl.
So as we're addressing them, and how do you don't fit in anywhere? Nobody.
And then she has centers that won't accept her.
Oh, and that's it. I
So
tried
now
to
the
reach
burden
out
is
to
all
a
on
rehab.
you and Troy.
Yes. So our home has become the rehab facility. I called out to multiple places. Okay, when people get hooked on Xanax or prescription drugs and alcohol and all these places, there's all these fabulous places for you to go. Well, people with special needs can also be exhibiting and having the same problem, where they're toxic and they're addicted to things that they shouldn't be, and their body's fighting it off, and they're no longer, if you are no longer functioning, you need a place. You have to be able to. We couldn't find one place that would even consider taking her or even interviewing her, because she was nonverbal. I have had Kylie be discriminated against her own disability repeatedly in so many situations where I'm looking at people going, so she doesn't qualify because she does have these things? I thought that this is what we're supposed to be, helping people who have disabilities, so even, we got to the point where maybe she could go stay somewhere during the week. She requires too much. So what do? You're putting it back on the parents, who still have to work, but they can't work because they are dealing with a situation
And
that's so volatile. And when people say to you, well, just give her up to the state. Really?
No.
So she could stress. You think my stress level is going to go down that I gave up my child?
And how do you know she wouldn't be abused in it?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
A facility like that.
You and I went to the ladies, that autism group. We met with the lady
Oh,
at the
yeah.
coffee shop.
The Autism Society of Greater Phoenix.
Yes, we went with a great group of ladies, and the one lady,
Moms Meetup. Second Friday, I believe, of every month, 9:30 to 11 at Barnes & Noble in Desert Ridge.
And they told me, with all of knowledge, she's an amazing, I couldn't believe how much she could rattle off. And we were talking, everybody's child or adult person is at a different level. And we talked about how, because we're having these huge critical behaviors, and we actually called emergency services at one day because it was so bad, and they showed up and they just said, well, if this is what you want to do, we'll go to ER. And she interjected and said, never, ever, ever take your kid I mean, again, if they're bleeding and if it's a
Right.
life-threatening situation,
They need
this is not.
surgery and
Yes.
they're going to die.
But if you go taking your kid to ER and turning them over to the state and then putting them in a facility, she says they will strap that child down, and if they can't find somebody in the state to take them, they will ship them out of state, and you will be chasing down your child in whatever state they put them in, and they will strap them down and medicate them until they're drooling. And there is no way on God's green earth my husband and I would ever do that, because that's not relieving stress for me. That's me putting my daughter in harm's way.
Well, and I think that I can only imagine how many people out there don't realize that. I had a caregiver whose sister had severe disabilities, not with a specific diagnosis, and they came from a lower socioeconomic status,
Right.
which I find when you have education and a certain amount of money, you have a little bit more of a institution to fight for.
True.
But when you're poor and you're at minimum wage and you're barely getting by, I think there's a lack of advocacy or a belief that you can fight or challenge the information that's handed
True.
to you. And I find that to be a shame. But so her her younger sister had severe behavioral issues. And her mom was working, some crappy job and was single and just alone. And she would tell me stories about how the school would say, we can't take her. You have to pick her up. And she would admit her to the psych ward of a hospital. And now they're subject to social workers when and if they can come in, and she's restrained in a hospital bed. And her mom viewed that as free daycare, a way for her to work or have peace and quiet, yet her child is strapped to a hospital bed. And I said to this caregiver, I said, I'm not being judgmental because I know we all have our own stuff going on.
Absolutely.
I said, but do you know that it's illegal for the school to say we can't handle her because there's something called
Yes.
IDEA and FAPE?
It's
It's
a
free
different.
access to public
Yeah.
education. I said, they aren't allowed to say we can't
No.
accommodate her needs. I said, that's a lawsuit. Because as soon as the school district says we can't accommodate her needs, they have to pay
Yes,
for
exactly.
her to
You're
go
right.
somewhere else. And this girl looked at me. She's like, my mom doesn't know any of this. And I
good
said,
God.
oh my gosh. I said, I'm willing to talk to your mom. I'm willing to help her
Absolutely.
advocate for herself. And they just chose
To let it
not
go.
to. And I don't know what has happened. I ended up having to fire her because I found her sleeping on the couch. And I'm like, hey, you don't get to bill for the hours that you're sleeping with my daughter is like not getting care of.
Random.
But there are, it's like you and I are strong, and that's why we are warriors. But
Yeah,
there are a
that's-
lot of people out there that don't have that
That's
strength
true.
or resolve, or they don't know that they can go somewhere and ask for help. So I just think that that's the point of this pod.
Yeah.
Is to
And Troy,
share
we used
what
to
is
get that.
available out there and where you can go and look for resources.
And maybe it'll be another one, but even the schools I have moved Kylie from, I mean, you play the game. And Kylie, when she was in high school kept when the height of pulling her hair out and, having infections and things like that, the school would constantly call and have Troy come in. And then when I fought for another school that was more appropriate for Kylie and closer to home, we had a meeting and they said, but we can service her. And I looked at them and I said,
But you're not.
but you're not. You're calling Troy, and we're picking her up every day. The only thing you guys do is walk her around the track. More people on the football team and the track team knew Kylie than in the regular classroom, because that's where they spent all their time with her. And the minute I said that, he got really quiet, because I said, you can't tell me you can service her because you're calling us all the time. You're not doing anything. You're babysitting and you're band-aiding a situation because you don't know what to do and you don't have the resources. And Kylie can't be in a classroom with 18 special needs kids, and it's loud and it's obnoxious, and you guys don't go anywhere. You don't even have a garden in the back of your have a garden. Have a
Tactile things.
Yes,
Get your hands in
yes.
the dirt.
Yes,
Work with plants.
you have 3 aides in your classroom. Make it useful. So it's anyway, that's why you don't, your last resort. And I want to get Kylie in a place where that's not what my kids are going to help her thrive in her own environment, and they can keep an eye on her, not worry about, I can't do this and I'm going to have to give her up to the state.
Never. It's just not an option.
It's
over my dead body.
Yeah. I mean,
I better be dead.
Yeah.
So you have her in a day program now, though, after a long, long time of looking.
Because most of them were big, overwhelming. This is a very small, they kind of are taking it as a slow go, and they do take cases where, kids are trying to be challenged. So yes, we're doing 3 mornings a week. And she has good days and she has bad days.
But do you feel like you have just some sort of snippet of a life
And I have
back?
to tell you, ever since we were even visiting it, she still gets out of the car every day. I've been in situations where she's hovering over me. She doesn't want to get out of the car. She has a lot of nonverbal ways of me knowing that something's not right and this isn't good for her.
They have very good intuition.
And she gets out of the car every day. It's not like she's fighting me. And if she were really mad and I got her out of the car, she'd be telling me. So, and we did have her in a supported living home that was doing great. And then things started falling apart. And the minute they started falling apart, we knew we were going to end up pulling her home. And that's another podcast too, about living arrangements. But instantly, and even when we were unpacking her stuff up to leave that house, I had to tell her every day we got out of the car, you're not staying here. We're packing your stuff up. You're still coming home. I had to reassure her that she was not going back in that house, and I was walking away every time we went to that house to unload her stuff.
Well,
So,
I think that is a great place for us to wrap up this episode. I am so grateful for your willingness to share your story.
Sure.
I bet there are a lot of people out there that have a similar scenario. And hey, that's the whole point. We are not alone.
I think we need to keep pushing it out there because there is an unknown world that people do not know. And if you know somebody, or if you just the compassion and the fact that this is expensive for everybody, but to offer something for, would I rather have something with quality or something with crap? I mean, we as a society have to decide what's right and what's wrong, and doing the right thing is always harder than doing nothing. So anyway, remember to keep that oxygen mask on and keep breathing and keep up the good fight.
That's why we're whoops.
Whoops.
Whoop, whoop. All right. This was Jen with Trisha.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye, friends.
Bye.